Hello and welcome to Top Sim, as well as the 1.6 update for Assetto Corsa Competizione. It is the 2020 GT World Challenge DLC update, and this is a big update. ... For those who have already spent a lot of time in ACC and already have a strong understanding of the current state of the game, and who've already put a lot of playtime, in short, the hardcore user of the sim. Being that I do not fit that demographic, I feel as though this update is a little bit over my head, so to say. I don't think that this update was necessarily for me when it comes down to it. The first biggest addition was Imola, the legendary racetrack. It seems to be a favorite of many, many people, but myself and that track have never really gotten along well. And it's not at all have anything to do with the ACC's version of it. It seems like a fantastic version, highly detailed. I was actually enjoying it in the time that I did have. However, just the general, what we'll say, philosophy of that track is not one that I generally gel with. Very quick straightaways followed by, slow chicanes. It's a kind of a track that I never really get my groove going in, and as a result, I kind of feel like I miss out, so to say. I don't have fun. It isn't necessarily a track that grooves with me. It's more of a track that when I have to race it, I want to get over with rather than enjoy. So it's not necessarily, it's not at all that this version of the track is bad. And in fact, this is an obviously amazing, fantastic version of the track. Laser scan, highly detailed. The player models are socially distant as well as wearing masks currently. There's nothing that you can say about this version of the track to make it seem negative in any way, shape, or form. I just want to get that out there to make sure everyone knows I'm not coming from a place of hate, rather just from a place of missed demographic, maybe, or just of not uninterest, but it's not a place where this was really catering to me. The next two big updates. The next two big additions to this update, rather, were the Ferrari 488 Evo and the Mercedes AMG Evo. And these updates are not huge. You can't necessarily, unless you're already a dedicated hardcore user like we've already talked about, you're not even going to be able to look at these cars and notice the difference. You're not necessarily going to be able to drive them and notice a huge difference. But the differences are there. A lot of these differences are in the aerodynamics of the car, and that affects the way it turns at different stages of the corner. I have been, surmised essentially, and really surmised from reviews rather than the play style myself, where I can feel I feel it a little bit, but really what have been told is that the Ferrari is more nimble and lighter and predictable through corners, particularly through mid and exit, where the Mercedes is a little bit more heavy and a little bit more predictable in its cornering style. And these changes are subtle, fantastic changes that you can notice if you're one of those people who already had the amount of time involved in ACC, which is a lot of people. It is the most popular, I'll say the best GT sim racer that there is out there. So a lot of people are going to notice this update and it will be huge for them. However, when it comes to myself, I have spent a lot of time, especially recently, diversifying myself among different sims to trying to find the positives that I like from each one. And the thing that I really like about ACC is its consistency. And I think that so far we've really seen them build on that with the new very, very, very well done Imola and the two, what we'll say, changes to two staples, two updates to two staples in the car selection. Those are two of the potentially the most popular, two of the most winningest cars that you could pick, and the updates to them have made them more consistent, more able to be driven at the limit. And it brings us to the potentially what I might consider the biggest update, the biggest change in this update, rather, is the Pirelli DHE tire model. This tire model is provided stability and grip when performing on the edge of the limit, so to say, of the car. And again, this is something that the grip level is incredibly noticeable to those who have used, or rather played this game, have put a lot of time into this game. Myself, I did notice the difference in handling and grip level, but it wasn't necessarily a huge change like we saw the huge change in terms of the AI and physics, specifically the physics update that we saw in AMS2 this past week. That was a huge change to the physics and tire model, and not necessarily the tire model, I'm sorry, but the physics and the way that the car responds to the track and to speed. This update is taking something that is already super consistent and just tuning it even more. So by nature of these changes, they're not huge changes themselves, because we've already started at a base that's so consistent. To change it radically would be to make it inconsistent. So we really have seen this improvement done and made, rather, to the tire model, and making it more consistent at performing on the limit. And I did, I was able to notice this. I feel like I was able to actually perform with my car on the limit in several different moments in a corner, versus one bad thing happening, or at least I feel like this is the way it was with ACC before this update. If you're on the limit, if one bad thing happens, you are not only removed from the limit, you are removed from your position on the track. You probably have bounced off to another, another line on the track. You've lost all of your speed, and you're probably going to lose a couple positions in the process. But this is not the case anymore. There is more consistency. There is more opportunity for saving mistakes. There's also a better window of preventing mistakes from happening, from existing in the past. That being said, these changes are very good, and they're so good that someone at my experience level with ACC notices them and can feel the impact of the game. However, there were certain negatives, I will call, maybe not negatives, but I think room for improvement, room where ACC could improve to become hands down one of the best sims on the market, if not the best sim on the market, where they're currently at this position of top tier on the market. And I think if they make a couple changes, they'll really improve their positioning between AMS2 and R Factor 2. But the biggest thing I noticed was the optimization. I have a 2070 Super and a 3800X processor, and both of these processors were under utilized, both under 70% utilization during max efforts of races, but during the maximum usages, both of recording and playing. And I was having weird, framey, choppy moments. And it would be understandable if I was using 100% of my, CPU and 80% of my graphics card. But we had a lot of ponies, so to say, left to let run wild. And so it's a little bit frustrating to see underutilization of hardware to the point where it's impacting, the rear view mirror is very framey, it's very choppy, it's not very smooth. Even when turned up on the settings all the way, there are moments in the race where my car and the other cars around me were a little bit framey, a little bit choppy, a little bit lacking. And I think that if those changes, if those hitches were to change, it just really builds the credibility that ACC has built as this consistent sim. And in addition to that, I think the biggest problems, where I consistently have problems, are weather changes from day to night specifically. When the game goes from day to night, all of a sudden, I'm just playing this choppy, it feels like it gets under 60 to 30 under 30 frames per second at, for half a second or so, and it's very noticeable, particularly in a sim when you're trying to move in between cars, move on a track, move on a line, and have precise braking and acceleration zones. That really becomes super noticeable and super. Not only does it take you out of the moment, but it really impacts your driving as well. So I think that is something that we could stand to see improved in ACC. I don't quite have an explanation for why that wouldn't have been addressed, but I think that we're getting to a point with ACC where so many things are being taken care of, so many things are now so consistent and so very well done, that they're going to have to get to that point where they're addressing the optimization of their hardware. And secondly, the only other thing I have as a downside, or room for improvement rather, are the environments and in lighting and outside of the course objects, so to say, that are a little bit lacking when we compare these elements to AMS2, which is just Automobilista 2 I've had since the release of the GT3 series. I've spent a lot more time getting to know that series, getting to know that title since then, and they do a lot well, particularly with that Madness engine. And I think we could stand to see some immersion built up stronger in ACC, because I think that's the thing that's really where it's missing now, is if we make this a better looking game. It is now unstoppable, especially after the consistency changes made to the tire model. And so I think we're looking at something so good here that it really is. It sounds like nitpicking. The improvements that I have listed, they sound like nitpicks, and I don't want them to come off that way. I want them to come off in the way of something where it's these changes that could be made to make this game like a 99 out of 100 from the 95 out of 100 where it sits now. But anyway, you guys, thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate it. Looking forward to some more exciting races, to dive into ACC more, to kind of learn about this tire model, can I really get the difference in the feels from it. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate it. If you guys made it this far and you enjoyed it, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe. And let's check out some new videos on the screen. See you in the next one.